We're just over a month away from the launch of Destined Rivals on May 29th in Pokemon TCG Live, but before that, Japan has given us a sneak Pikachu into the best new decks we can expect. Since I've already covered the new decks from Japan's Heatwave Arena, including Cynthia's Garchomp and Ethan's Typhlosion, this video will only focus on the glory of Team Rocket. As expected, at least through the first weekend and a bit, Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX has performed the best. Though, perhaps due to product availability, it's nowhere near as prevalent as you might think. Regardless of these very early results, things will progress over the next few weeks as the meta gets more figured out and a wider array of Japanese players get their toes on the new cards. But for now, let's see how those Team Rocket's Pokemon are doing. First up is Mewtwo. As a quick reminder, Mewtwo EX can deal up to 280 damage for 3 energy, except you have to discard 2 energy from your bench Pokemon. And the attack cost is 3, meaning you have to use Team Rocket's energy plus something like Counter Gain or Energy Switch. It also can't attack unless you have 4 or more Team Rocket's Pokemon in play. This makes Spidops the best partner, as it's a Team Rocket's Pokemon that can accelerate an energy from the discard pile every turn. Plus, its attack can deal up to 180 damage for 2 energy. Looking at the top performing Mewtwo lists in Japan so far, they're all pretty much the same. It's either a 4-3 or 4-4 line of Spidops, 2 Mewtwo EX, 1 Mimikyu, and 1 Lily's Clefairy EX to allow your Mewtwo and Mimikyu to hit Dragapult and Raging Bolt for weakness. There's also Articuno to protect your basics from effects of attacks, Maximum Belt to help Mewtwo reach 330 damage, and a whole heap of Team Rocket supporters. One of the great things about this deck is that going first doesn't really suck. Proton is an absolutely goated supporter that can be used on turn 1 to go and get 3 basic Team Rocket's Pokemon. The reason lists only play 2 copies is because you have Team Rocket's Receiver, which just goes and gets any Team Rocket supporter from deck. Elsewhere, you do have to be careful when listening to Ariana Grande. Many Mewtwo decks will run Clefairy EX and maybe Pheasantipity EX. So long as you don't have either of those in play, Ariana draws you up to 8 cards in hand, making it one of the best supporters in the entire game. But if all of your Pokemon aren't Team Rockets, it only draws you up to 5. Decent, just not goated like a Skidoo. Also on the draw side of things is Archer, who's a Shuffle Draw 5 for you and a Shuffle Draw 3 for them if one of your Team Rocket's Pokemon was just knocked out. Rounding out the supporters is Giovanni, who's a Prime Catcher, but you have to have a Team Rocket's Pokemon in your active. Really pushing the deck over the edge is Team Rocket's Factory. If you played a Team Rocket supporter at any point during your turn, you can activate the Factory to draw 2 cards. Like, that's crazier than Ash's Infernape. Some of the other cards I've seen pop up in a few Mewtwo decks are Sneasel, who allows you to clean up a KO on a bench Pokemon. Though, with Shaman arriving on the same day protecting single prizers, you might have to stick to hitting non-Tera 2 prizers. Wobbuffet hasn't really done much yet, though it can fully heal a damaged Mewtwo and send the counters to your opponent's active. There's also Petrol, but he's a little too creepy for a Mewtwo deck, merely getting you any trainer cards. One of those trainers could be Secret Box, which some people have chosen as the A-Spec over Maximum Belt, as it gets you everything you need. Honestly though, I wouldn't be surprised if we start looking at Mewtwo as more of a Spidops deck as time rolls on. It's a single prizer that can deal 180 damage for very little effort while also hitting for a grass weakness. Don't get me wrong, Mewtwo will absolutely still be included for a little extra oomph. But Spidops seems like one of those cards that will be the sneaky MVP, while Mewtwo ends up being more disappointing than my son, who only got a participation trophy because he kept eating the grass during soccer games. The other new headlining Team Rocket's Pokemon EX is Crobat. When you evolve into it from hand, it puts 2 damage counters on 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. Golbat does the same thing, except it's to just one of their Pokemon. So far, it hasn't gone sicko mode in Japan, mostly being relegated to a Dusknoir replacement in Dragapult or another partner for Spidops. One of the reasons why Crobat is being paired with Dragapult is because the new Psyduck is out in Japan. We don't know when we're getting it in English, but the duck shuts off abilities of Pokemon that blow themselves up. Basically, the Pokemon Company decided to print the hardest counter to Dusclops and Dusknoir, making them almost unplayable when it's on the field unless you have Klefki in the active. As you can see from the list, Crobat's just a 2-2-1 line. And there's still a 1-1-1 Dusknoir in case they don't have a Psyduck. What's interesting here is that Neo Upper Energy is the A-Spec. Instead of running a Team Rocket's energy that only works on Crobat, Neo Upper works on both Dragapult and Crobat. However, if you decide to put Crobat back into your hand with its attack, the energy is discarded. So it's very matchup specific whether you want to recycle Crobat or not. Otherwise, the pairing of Crobat with Spidops seems okay. All the pieces are there, but I feel like a de-evolution wouldn't be a bad idea. Or at the very least, a Sneasel. Unfortunately, this is kind of the problem I suspected with the whole Team Rocket's archetype. The trainers are amazing while the Pokemon are lacking. Despite how useful Crobat's ability can be, 120 damage on the attack is far too weak, and having to discard the energy if you want to put Crobat back into your hand, that's horrible. Once again, this just backs up my thought that Spidops will be the leader of Team Rocket's decks, while everyone else will be there to super boost it like an energy. And what about Porygon-Z? Well, aside from a surprise third place finish on day one, it hasn't really done anything. It's absolutely going to be a road deck, just maybe not a strong one. The whole gimmick is that it does 20 damage for each Team Rocket supporter in your discard pile. There's 5 Team Rocket supporters in total, meaning you can have up to 20 in your deck for a damage potential of 400. And Porygon's ability can help fill up your discard along with Brilliant Blender. It's just that a third of your deck will be supporters, so alternate attackers will be hard to come by. Same with Recovery. And Porygon attacks for a Team Rocket's energy or a reversal energy. So if you go ahead on prizes early and can't find your Rocket's energy, you're kinda screwed. Still, for the most part, it should work. Just up the receivers to 4 and cut the Roto Stick. That's so 2015. And maybe add a Blood Moon Ursaluna EX or Cramorant or something because you definitely need somebody else to attack with. While it's not the focal point of a brand new deck, the Team Rocket's Pokemon making the biggest impact is Mimikyu. For a Psychic and a Colorless, it can copy any attack of your opponent's active Tera. The main one, of course, is Dragapult. So on a 60 hit point single prizer, you can one-shot Dragapult so long as Lily's Clefairy EX is in play. Every Mewtwo deck should run one copy, but the archetype getting the biggest buff is Gardevoir. You already run Clefairy, so Mimikyu just gives you another low HP attacker who can take big KOs. Best of all, unlike Screamtail and Drifloon that require a bunch of energy and damage, Mimikyu only needs 2 energy. So that's 1 Guardy attach plus a manual attachment. I know it's not sexy, but outside of Mewtwo, this is where Mimikyu makes the most impact. It will also pop up in Tera Box decks. Lily's Clefairy is already there, same with Energy Switch and Crispin. Add Mimikyu to your Tera Box list, now you have an easy way to deal with Dragapult while only giving up a single prize in return. Speaking of Tera Box, I think we all knew Team Rocket's Watchtower was going to be a powerful card. I don't think we realized how powerful. This is by far the most played new card from the set. Completely removing the abilities from all colorless Pokemon, including Noctowl, Fanrotom, Dunsparce, Pidgeot EX, Blood Moon Ursaluna EX, Squawkabilly EX, and more. This one card will force decks relying on Noctowl to run as many stadiums as possible. If you were thinking you could squeak by with 3 Area Zero, think again. From Gardevoir to Dragapult to Joltik Box to Ceruledge to Future Box, pretty much every deck that doesn't rely on colorless Pokemon abilities is including a single copy. While it's not quite Path to the Peach from the Sword and Shield era, Team Rocket's Watchtower will absolutely shake up Standard and force decks utilizing the Noctowl engine to rework their lists. The last new Team Rocket's card we're talking about is Venture Bomb. I think most people expected it would make Poison Donk decks more annoying, which it will, but so far in Japan, Archaludon has been the greatest beneficiary. When you play Venture Bomb, a coin is flipped. If it's heads, you put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So that means Archaludon can now one-shot a Naked Raging Bolt. And if it's tails, you put 2 damage counters on your active. Paired with Monkey Dory, that doesn't really matter. Considering that Poison Archaludon kinda fizzled out over here, I'm hesitant to say this makes Archaludon insane. But at the very least, it's another new card to help out one of the most stable decks in Standard. I think the main thing holding Venture Bomb back like a fart when you're on an elevator is space. It's no doubt a powerful card. The problem is that it's not something you can really play one of. The more you have, the better it is. So finding 4 empty holes to fill isn't easy. But if you can, it makes Hopzation EX stronger. And of course, Captain Cheat Spreader is boosted by the Venture Bomb. Because you can pick which of your opponent's Pokemon gets the counters, this means those smug 70 hit point basics are even less safe than before. Oh, and if you flip 2 heads, that's a Badoo KO. Though obviously you'd have to use them while not under item lock. At least through the first 5 or 6 days, a startling number of new cards from the Glory of Team Rocket have yet to do anything. Personally, I'm massively disappointed that nobody in Japan tried Huntail Gorobus. That's literally my #1 most anticipated deck of the entire freaking set. Additionally, Titan EX was forgotten about more than the Pinky Toe, and Chingling has yet to make it onto anyone's radar about how annoying it could be. So luckily, players in Japan are only stuck with Badoo as their 30 hit point baby buttface. Diving even deeper, Arbok, Tyranitar, Weezing, and Annihilape haven't placed in the top 16 of any tournaments tracked by Limitless. I fully believe that will change because Arbok is very annoying, preventing evolving from hand if the Pokemon has an ability. Play it with Jamming Tower to shut off TM Evolution and you can really lock people out of games. The other 3 meanwhile all have potential to be fun road decks. Then we have Arboliva EX. Aside from a random second place finish, it's done nothing. The player in Japan paired it with Dusknoir to shorten the game as much as possible, knocking out any Shaman or Rabska that try to protect their bench. Then you try to spread cheeks and win the game, except the list didn't play any de-evolution, which I thought was a little weird. Ultimately, the whole glory of Team Rocket set is off to a bit of a slow start. But like Regigigas, it should improve over time. I mean, look at Ethan's Typhlosion and Marnie's Grimmsnarl EX. Typhlosion got off to a good start, but now it's emerged as a top 10 deck in Japan. And pairing Marnie's Grimmsnarl with Frostlass Munkidori has seen it go from unplayable to a top 10 deck as well. So while I will admit that the power level of some of these new Team Rocket's Pokemon is lacking, I'm hopeful that we'll get at least a few more new archetypes from this side of Destined Rivals. As always, I'll have plenty of preview videos for Destined Rivals next month ahead of its release on May 29th in Pokemon TCG Live. So make sure you're subscribed or else I'll tell the Pokemon Company not to include the new Psyduck in the set.